boy! 2025 was a really good year for gaming, don't get me wrong, not only did we get some really great games to remember for years to come, but we also had a total showdown from indie and AA studios dominating it. But as we say goodbye to 2025 and enter into the new year, it's time for some reflection on the good, the bad, and the craziest things of our last turn around the sun. And today's video will be all about the garbage. We're going to be diving in because what better way is there to digest all the sweets of Christmas season than a batch of games so bad they might just give you indigestion. So go ahead, grab something warm, and let's get right into this very unconventional and yet very objective list of stinkers, brought to you by the absolute maximum authority on the matter. Seriously guys, I got a PhD on this stuff.
Knowledge.
If your favorite game of 2025 is on this list, you desperately need therapy. Next up, in the following days, expect a video featuring the very best of 2025 and maybe another separate one where I talk about the big controversies of the year. We'll see how that pans out, but for now, let's jump in.
Hey! Time for a few fart jokes!
Our weapon inbound.
Starting off at number 10, we have Splitgate 2, and man, I wouldn't even be surprised if you guys didn't remember this game at this point. The game itself isn't even that bad on its own, like it's a serviceable first-person shooter. The problem is that this is far from what the game's marketing suggested. The whole thing was a messy roller coaster that kinda has me feeling bad for the developers even. Initially, their first blunder was to have the CEO come out wearing a "Make FPS Great Again" hat. Now, this isn't at all something that offends me. I have no issue with people using a popular phrase as a meme, even if it is one linked to one of the two main political parties in America. Like, it's not like the dude dug the phrase out of a Mein Kampf book or some shit. Like, the guy didn't shock his dog or anything.
I understood that reference.
But if you're making a game like this, and you need as many people as possible on board, it might not be a good idea to have that kind of reference in the marketing, especially when the game just honestly didn't back it up, which is the main offense here. If you're gonna do that quote, at least truly have an FPS game that stands out and is truly great, rather than one that just blends in. Because ultimately that's what Splitgate 2 does. Just from the footage alone, you guys might not even be able to tell the game apart from others, and frankly neither could I. The only thing that makes me go, oh, that's Splitgate, is the portals. You take the portals away and it's just yet another bright neon colorful bullshit shooter with cartoony characters, soft textures everywhere, bland sci-fi slop looking guns, and generally the same pew-pew experience. Although admittedly there were some killer clips of the movement possibilities that were posted online earlier this year, but at the same time not everyone liked that either, nor was it an original thing, as movement has gotten increasingly crazy in games like these. If you'll remember, a big controversy around Battlefield 6 over the summer was Call of Duty and Fortnite players calling the game slow because you couldn't ass slide around the map at 60 miles per hour. The movement community, they called themselves. The movement community and then the aim community. Oh man, we had such a good time this summer. But anyway, then to make matters worse, the quote would actually come back to haunt the studio later as the CEO went and made a video apologizing to an angry mob of Twitter Karens who didn't even have any interest in the game to begin with, but were dogging on it because of the Make FPS Great Again thing. And at this point, he pretty much alienated himself from every group of people. He had alienated himself from the people who were offended by that quote, and now alienated himself from the people who were offended by the apology to that quote. Plus other people out there who find it a super cucked thing to apologize to angry leftist Twitter mobs in 2025. In the end, the big relaunch of the game, after they pulled back to fix issues, implement changes, and apologize for that quote, ended up coming and going in pure silence, not even managing to cross the 1,000 player mark. This isn't a video for big philosophical discussions on what to do and not to do in marketing. Frankly, in a way, it worked to put the game out there, to dig it out of the thousands of games that released, which was a concern that the developers had, and kinda, shed a light on it. but that's not always a good thing unless the game truly stands out and is built to impress. Big shot marketing requires big shot games. But anyway, best of luck to the developers at their future endeavors. I hope they don't get shut down over this. They're young, they got talent, they just need to learn from this endeavor and hopefully come back better.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Now, this next one at number 9 isn't exactly something so bad that it would give you indigestion, but honestly, I don't even know, actually. You know, don't take my word on that. It's The Outer Worlds 2, and I'll be straight with you guys, it's not as bad as other games on this list, but much of that is owed to a better second half of its length, because the first half is so incredibly bad, it has caused numerous people to quit and might do so with you too. Especially if you don't have any cool guys on YouTube like me telling you that it does get somewhat better after the 2 first planets. But then again, there's also the fact that you might hear that and think, I don't have fucking time to waste on 2 whole-ass god-awful planets before the game gets a bit better, Des, prompting you to skip it anyway, which I would understand because on top of that, it's $70 goddamn that they're asking for this middling experience. And middling it is. There's no question that it is better than Avowed, and oh boy, we'll be talking about that in a bit, but that's not exactly a compliment to give anything, and that's what I sadly saw way too many people do in their reviews. Obsidian has officially fallen so low that they're at this point where anything slightly above shit tier is celebrated.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way, yeah.
The Outer Worlds 2 is an incredibly ugly game, genuinely one of the ugliest fucking things I've ever seen. I don't know what happened between the art direction on the first and second game, but holy crap, dude. And that has been the theme of my review, a review I abandoned to work on other videos, but that I will return to sooner or later, you can count on it. Nearly everything I remember being unique and enjoyable in the first game, which was already a downgrade from what you'd expect from an Obsidian RPG, is worse, except for the gunplay. The gunplay is far better, but again, everything else that composes this has gone to shit. The writing has suffered a major loss, and I don't know if it's because of Tim Kaine being gone or not. It could be something else, of course, but yeah, the jokes just don't land. The companions range from insufferable to just white noise, like they're there, they exist, and literally do nothing for me. The quest design is weak, and by god, the level design and world design is terrible. You have like a location here and then another one there, and nothing of note to traverse through in between in these already small maps. Obsidian has gotta be the worst developer out there right now making these kinds of games, and ending up with worlds that just don't feel believable at all. It breaks immersion to explore the map. And the fundamental gag of Outer Worlds, you know, the entire concept the game is built on just doesn't work anymore. You see, back in 2019 with the first game, the big greedy capitalism pushed to the max gag felt fresh. It was a solar system out in the edge of the galaxy that was bought and paid for by these comically greedy corporations, and so the gag was that you imagine any system at all that comprises a normal society, and you just put a super greedy corporation spin on it. The game kept its whole lore simple because of it. It wasn't meant to be taken seriously. It was just like, what? Babies? No, yeah, of course, they're company property. What do you think? What? Chemicals in toothpaste that suppresses your appetite so workers need less food rations? Yes, of course. Efficiency is key. You know, that kind of thing.
Hey, you, come here. You've tried the best now. Now try the rest. Spacer's choice. Oh, wow, that stings. Looks like the bleeding stopped. I owe you one.
Really? How is he? Shouldn't have done that. Spacer's Choice family ain't authorized to receive medical aid from off-brand physicians.
But in the sequels, not only does the gag not function anymore because it feels old and uncreative, but a major motive as to why is they actually decided to take it seriously, and so they went and expanded on the lore with incredibly convoluted and overcomplicated shit that loses that goofy charm that it had and replaces it with legitimately stupid companies making utterly retarded decisions with brain-dead NPCs. Well, characters, which is even worse. It also tries to expand on the lore by adding an authoritarian faction and a science religion faction that is not even technically new, but is expanded from the first game. And they try to make this whole serious plot with a war underneath it all, but it just doesn't work because these people can't write to save their lives. And then they're stuck in this eternal loop where they want to be super funny and quirky, but at the same time they want to be super serious and dark. And they just can't tell their ass from their elbow when they're trying to mix these elements together, man. This concept worked in a very small localized story and set of planets. Now they tried to stretch it out and dot it with new bullshit for a sequel that the first game didn't even frankly need. But oh well, here we are. And when I say it gets better in the second half, I mean it gets more tolerable. There's some better side quests, and the planets you visit are not so ugly that they break immersion, which is precisely the case with the first two. I was nearly about to quit my playthrough of this dogshit game during those first two planets. It was simply by a miracle that I did one extra play session, managed to finish the quest in the second planet, and moved on to the third. One less play session, and I would have given up on this and deeply regretted my purchase, which I still do, but you know, anyway. Let's keep going with the list and return to this in the future in its own video.
Gods. Here we go.
That's right, back-to-back Obsidian games. Now we got Avowed representing the worst that 2025 had to offer. And honestly, I don't even know how they managed to do these two major releases, games that are meant to be flagship RPG titles of theirs, in 1 year. I have no idea what structure is going on at Obsidian, all I know is it's clearly not working. If I had problems with the Outer Worlds, then holy shit, Avowed stands on a whole separate plane of its own. And it's frankly going to be reflected on the rest of this list because the 10th and 9th places are a totally different level than what we're about to get into for the rest of the video. Avowed was meant to be the game that morons like me would put on their top 10 best games of 2025 lists. Morons like me who suffer every day from one debilitating condition called being a fan of the Elder Scrolls and having nothing to fucking eat since 2011.
The middle children of history, man. No purpose, a place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
This was meant to be Obsidian's own take on that style of game, and instead ended up being a complete mockery of not just it, but also Obsidian itself as a studio. I mean, holy crap, man. The studio that brought us Fallout New Vegas can't even make NPCs move anymore? Are you serious? This game was missing the most basic functionalities you'd expect in an RPG like this, let alone other more advanced stuff. Like, forget about a reputation system, this game didn't even have a crime system. Brother, forget a crime system, the fucking game didn't even have the most basic line of code where if you took an item from a vendor stall or a home or whatever without paying for it, you would get guards to aggro on you. Like, this game had nothing. Guards were cardboard. There weren't even any guards, to be honest with you guys. You couldn't do anything to anyone. You couldn't even lure in bandits or whatever from the outside world into the cities because nothing would happen. I mean, you could lure them, but they would just be attacking you. Nobody cared, nobody ran, no guards activated. There was nothing. The whole fucking thing was fake. It was empty, utterly lacking in the most minimum expectation of depth. The world wasn't a world, it was cardboard set dressing. The combat was serviceable, but again, same theme with the Outer Worlds too. An improvement when it comes to the combat. But the rest was completely neglected. And as it comes to the story and lore, These were the only things that impressed me, and it wasn't even because of its own merit, it was because of what was already written there from before, from the work that old Obsidian did when they created the Pillars of Eternity games and their rich lore. That's what impressed me and kept me going for a while, but anything new that they touched was ass. Not even the good kind, it was like man ass. And for the ladies out there, the 7% of female viewership that I have, it's not even like the good kind of like power buns or what, like no, it's like the floopy kind, the kind that just hangs there and shit, you don't want any of that, you don't want any of that shit, okay? Again, awful quest design, even worse than Outer Worlds 2, locations were meh, honestly not much to point here, they were just there, you know what I mean? The only boon that I can offer here is that there weren't any locations as ugly as those first 2 planets in the Outer Worlds 2, but it suffered the same issue where if you stop and you scrutinize the world and how it's designed, no shortage of problems start popping up, it just breaks your immersion. And please understand that I'm not doing this on purpose. I don't do that because I want to, it just comes naturally because as you're playing this type of game, it's the kind of game that just begs for your immersion. You want to be sucked into the world, you want to, explore and learn and talk to people, etc. But it just kept taking me out of the experience. The companions were boring as well, like the best one was... I don't even remember their names anymore. Oh god. I only remember the dwarf because his name was Marius and he had a mustache like Mario or something. I don't even remember these morons' names, and honestly that's fitting because they were very forgettable. But not even the big blue salamander looking guy was worth it, despite being usually highlighted by people merely because his voice actor was the same one casted for Garrus in Mass Effect. I also remember how ridiculous the game was in its presentation. Big words about all kinds of big bad things happening in the world, but zero effort to show it. And in other occasions, what was present there was actually embarrassing, like characters who spoke as if this was a ridiculous cartoony game. Let me see if I can get a clip from my review.
Ooh, good answer.
My turn. Some would call you blessed. Others would call you cursed. The fact remains, you are touched by the gods. Wouldn't you say that you owe something to the rest of us?
Yvette, take a note. Godlike are inherently uncooperative. Approach with caution. And like anything affecting the soul, it must be connected to essence.
What? I mean, I'm sorry. What? Could you possibly elaborate? Oh no, I mean, oh yes?
People are used to the damned things wandering around. If Elia finds out, I'll never hear the end. You're an Imperial envoy, no? You must know what... maybe there is something. Maybe I know where they went. I've caught them trying to shamble off to the nearby lake before. There may not be much left, but feel free to take a...
May I remind you that in this area, in Fjordell fucking whatever the fuck is called, Emerald Stair, in this area, these people are supposed to be going through a devastating famine and disease. That's what they're supposed to be going through. And anytime I go around, I find NPCs that sound like this. Hey envoy, how are you doing? What the fuck is this? Why is everyone so quirky? What a total waste of time, talent, and money. Obsidian has truly fallen now and serve only as an example of how studio names don't really matter anymore. It's pointless to advertise games with their names like, oh, look guys, from the creators of Fallout comes this new pile of shit. Fellas, wake me up when Obsidian either goes out of business or makes a decent RPG again, because as it stands, the only thing they seem to be capable of doing is that grounded game, and that's it.
Joe, did you seriously settle that city in the tundra? What the f*** are you doing?
It's literally the only land I have to settle after you forward settled me, Jack.
It's not my fault you got first Pantheon and didn't pick religious settlements.
Well, I wanted Sacred Path since I'm playing Brazil, but I forgot what civ I'm playing and chopped the rainforest.
You forget a lot of things, don't you, Joe? God damn it, Barack. Your hoplites are f***ing annoying.
Maybe you should have built a wall in that city, you know?
Number 7 wasn't easy to pick because the stench is starting to blend together, but I'm gonna hand it to Civilization 7. Congratulations to the team behind it for fucking up the easiest concept on the planet for the most easy to please fans. Like, all you had to do was take Civilization 6, then take the numerous data that Civ players generate for free via feedback and mods over years and years of active play, and then get your ass to work and make a sequel that doesn't try to fix what isn't broken and merely improves on the existing formula. Instead, for some reason that I can't possibly comprehend, the developers went and fumbled on pretty much every important aspect of these games. It's actually impressive to see the length of this fuck up. Terrible user interface and user experience with a clunky mobile game looking ass interface missing key information, caked in useless shit and featuring a bad, downright unfinished Civilopedia, game-breaking bugs, glitches, terrible AI and awful performance leading to the point of crashing. Honestly, even at this point I hear it's pretty bad. The patches have helped somewhat, but like, even without performance issues, this game was doomed, because it went back and for no good reason at all thought that it'd be a good idea to gut the core game experience with this age system bullshit. I'm not big on strategy type of games, it's more of a little thing I get into very rarely when I'm in a mood. I dip my toes in, play for a while and leave, very casual, but the changes implemented in Civilization 7 make even me not want to bother with this game. I tried it and got a goddamn refund, the problems were way too fucking many. The footage on screen isn't even mine, I don't even know what footage I'm gonna use, maybe I'll use footage from another game, who the knows. So I can't even imagine how much bigger of a disappointment this was for Civ veterans and big fans of the genre. It used to be that you start the game, pick a civilization of some kind like the Romans or better yet, the glorious Portuguese Empire, and then you just played throughout the ages, establishing yourself, growing, expanding, so on and so forth. With Civilization 7 and the Ages system, they completely destroyed this concept by letting you play throughout one age as your chosen civilization and then be forced to pick another one at the start of the second age and like fucking what, meld them together or some shit? So if you want to have this one big massive empire through continuous play, you can't. You have to water your shit down with some other civilization and then by the third age you have to do it again. And it's like, what was this for? Humankind, another Civ-like game that didn't do well at all, had this feature. Why are these morons looking towards a game that failed to establish itself as something to draw inspiration from? If I wanted to play this system, I would buy and play Humankind, you toads. Beyond that, this game also suffered from being generally unfinished and then asking you for more money so they could patch the holes with DLC. And if this kind of shit wasn't enough, it was also featuring a bunch of cringe ideological bullshit by implanting subtle morality cues about certain civilizations and having downright ridiculous choices for leaders like Harriet Tubman for America because the developers wanted other lesser known figures to have the spotlight. What are you, fucking stupid? Why would you pick less relevant leaders to represent the civilizations your players are supposed to be hyped to play as? In general, this felt like a Civilization game made by a completely different team that doesn't give a damn about the franchise nor about history itself, and also a team that is more concerned with subtle social messaging than fun. A new modern civilization for the new modern audience. Like, no, I don't want to finish the first age and then enter into the next one by becoming some melting pot with some other civilization and then do it again a third time. I want to dominate the entire continent, then the hemisphere, and then eventually the world. Because it's a video game. It's for fun. Remember that word, Firaxes? Fun? Anyway, let's move on.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Okay, number 6 is this pile of shit called Call of Duty Black Ops 7. If there was ever a COD game that could actually be the one to show everyone out there that COD is indeed not big enough to fail, this is the one. It's not that the series hasn't already been in serial decline for a while now, because it legitimately has, it's that this one was so bad that even the COD bros are starting to notice. And holy shit, it's about time, because I don't know how much more garbage can a group of people take before they drop their addiction. BO7 is a soulless cash grab. Nothing new there. It crashed and burned hard, with sales cratering on Steam by 82% versus its predecessor, Black Ops 6. The campaign literally became a laughingstock, as we got to see some of the most retarded shit ever in a Call of Duty game, with cringy ass scenes like this.
Look at the top of his head! Look at his lips!
And boss fights against Godzilla Jones, or whatever the fuck this is on screen. Seriously, just look at it. You're witnessing the Call of Duty Black Ops 7 single-player campaign. Really, take it all in, fellas. At first when I saw this, I thought it was a zombies thing, so I was like, whatever, it's the zombies, who cares? But no, this is actually the story. This is what it has come down to. Remember where it all started? That absolutely brilliant campaign? The numbers, Mason, what do they mean? The name Black Ops actually meant something. It was a theme for this set of Call of Duty games centered on the Cold War, filled with compelling twists and turns and conspiracies, playing with our real-world history in a respectful and thrilling way to deliver an unforgettable experience that I will personally never forget. Now it's this shit.
Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying! What is wrong with you?
And it's just goddamn embarrassing, man. Call of Duty has lost its self-respect a long time ago, but at this point it's like desecrating a damn corpse. This is shameful, man. It's disgusting. And as much as I don't want to be overly negative in this video as it pertains to any of these game developers or communities, first of all, to the developers, who the fuck are these people? What are you doing? Where did you come from? Kindergarten? And as to the communities, I mean, they goddamn deserve it. All the people continuously buying this pile of shit year after year, constantly rewarding the developers as they continuously drop the quality of the campaigns. Hell, in some games they didn't even bother with adding a campaign. I'm sorry to say, but you motherfuckers deserve this, okay? And you know who else deserves this? Xbox. Oh, they deserve it more than anyone else, and it brings me so much joy to see these executives who pushed for this stupid-ass Activision deal now look at the big, infallible Call of Duty brand getting mocked online. Brainrot's story, the single-player campaign isn't even a single-player thing, you're always online even when playing solo. If you play with friends, your friends aren't even in the goddamn cutscenes. Gameplay features, no impact whatsoever. It's a lazy-ass game that feels more like a DLC of the last one, and if that wasn't enough, we also had a cakeload of generative AI bullshit used during development. We got generated calling cards, skins, maps, assets, and who knows what else. And to top it all off, the usual. Greedy, predatory monetization and out-of-touch DLC content. For the love of God, if you're still someone buying into this crap because of the multiplayer, just stop. There's 1,000 other different shooters out there, go play those. Hell, go play the previous Call of Duty. Stop fueling this machine and buying every single one. The Call of Duty brand needs to die out so something better can rise from the ashes. This has become nothing more, nothing less than a cash grab milking machine. A long time ago already, to be honest, it's not even a new thing. They don't even have real developers who care anymore. They have idiots using AI to put together the next $70 scam. I bet the goddamn story was put together by some idiots using AI too. Because I refuse to believe that you can get a job in this industry, especially as high up as Activision working on Call of Duty, you know, as a writer or a director, and not be able to do better than what they presented us with here. And this goes for many other games in AAA too. Huge decay in quality, while at the same time pricing them higher and higher. $70 with now a recent push to $80. If these companies don't value their own games enough to hire competent, talented people to work on them, why the fuck should we be paying a premium price for them?
Skip it up and down.
What? Mindseye in 5th place instead of number 1? How could this be? Well, very simple. Number 1, I only played this train wreck last month after a bunch of patches made it actually playable, and number 2, unlike the final 4 games on the list, this one is its own thing and didn't insult any long-running IPs or established fan bases, though it did try to scam its own new player base, so, I mean, you know, yeah. But let me explain. The truth is, guys, I kinda have a soft spot for Mindseye. I skipped most of its controversy back during launch. I don't know why, but I just didn't feel like getting into it, but I do remember it being a mess. Like, we had accountants and developers or some shit leave the company right before the game came out. Like, they already knew this was going to be a total shit show, so they abandoned ship. And of course, we had them pull a bit of a CD Projekt Red type of move where they sent out no review copies, trying to hide the mess from as many people as possible and for as long as possible. And some developers even came out and blamed saboteurs, like, oh, our game was sabotaged, guys. It wasn't us, guys. It's a deliberate hit, guys. You gotta believe me, guys, somebody hacked my PC and made the game shit. I also remember the poor actor who plays the protagonist coming out and just trying to be as down to earth as possible, openly talking about the game's issues and all that.
I don't know whether it's not a lack of QA. I met the QA testers and they seem competent at their job. But for whatever reason, the company deciding to release something that has these issues, and then sort of taking care of it post-mortem, post-release. Obviously, we were not the first game to do that. Like a very notorious example is Cyberpunk, and there have been others. Mm-hmm. And as a gamer, as a consumer, I don't love that. I don't love that model. I don't like that moving forward. I'm not a business person, so like I also want to be very clear that I have no idea why that decision gets made. I will just say that from a consumer perspective, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, I think it does more long-term harm than...
Man, I feel bad for this dude. I really do. He's a terrific actor. He's the same dude who played Lincoln in Mafia 3, another game that suffered the issue of basically being something that the core fanbase did not want and releasing broken. Genuinely, I just want this actor to get a break already. He's really good at his job, but he keeps getting cursed. As to the game itself though, I don't really have much fire in my belly to expend here. Like I said, I avoided the controversy. I decided not to get this at launch, and instead I made videos about other things, plus covered other games throughout the summer, and then finally, yes, I picked up the game to give it a try and see how bad it actually was, and if it deserved a spot on this list. And ultimately, after having played it recently, the game is still very, very wonky. It still feels super janky, the animations are still lacking, the combat is I don't know if it's the way it's designed, like in a very amateur way, or if it's just still lacking polish and bugged out, but it feels off. There's still weird visual artifacts in the game and pop-in, and this is just on console, by the way. As another Unreal Engine 5 game, I don't know how screwed this may or may not be on PC by now. I could tell you guys that, hey, at least it's much better now and it runs at 60 FPS on console, which is a huge jump from not even hitting 30 at launch to the point where Sony even had to issue refunds, but that would be like the Obsidian problem where we excuse mediocrity by it just not being worse. Still, there you go. They did at least make it playable. But as a game with a major financial backing with a budget of over $100 million plus over 8 years of development time, there is absolutely no denying how much of a disaster this is. Now, why is it on number 5 and why am I so chill while talking about it? Well, there's a few reasons. Number 1, playing it while it's fixed versus playing it at launch is a night and day experience. Number 2, the game's media isn't trying to protect this. Like, we all know this is a flop and a piece of shit game. There's nobody running articles trying to tell us it's actually amazing and the haters are just racists or some shit like that, like they do constantly for other games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avowed, Dragon Age Veilguard, Tales of the Shire, so on and so forth. That alone already removes a great deal of fire from my ass. But the main reason is probably because I feel bad about it. The studio was founded by Leslie Benzies, former Rockstar North president, and while this shouldn't mean anything as to a game's quality, after all it literally serves as yet another example alongside Obsidian, that names don't really matter in the end. The truth is that still I can see kind of a weird broken dream story somewhere in there, where a group of people go off, make their own studio, and try to start their own GTA-like series of games in a new and extremely ambitious world. But then everything just falls apart upon execution. That's Mindseye. That's what I see when I play this game. A ton of ambition without the experience to actually put it together. Now, if a new story comes out in the future of it actually not being that way and it just being a big money laundering scheme, then I'll take my words back instantly. But yeah, it looks like a sad breakout story that ended a total disaster. Like, these people got out of AAA just to go and act like a AAA studio and make the same AAA mistakes of bloated budgets, lack of experience, and an overly ambitious fantasy vision of a game that they couldn't actually physically make. And another big plus from playing it now while it was fixed was also to be able to assess it at its best. And at its best, Mindseye is an incredibly bland, boring and empty video game. You actually have next to nothing to do in the open world, which is why it's so puzzling why they went so wide with it in terms of ambition. They should have just made this game significantly smaller and focused on the plot plus some combat and hacking abilities, like a Deus Ex type of game, for example, with limited exploration instead of wanting to do GTA, because you really got nothing to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, the world looks great, I love the design of things around the map, you know, the buildings, etc. They definitely had a great vision going, they have like world building, lore details, all neatly designed with logos and everything. Like, you can tell that these people wanted to sell this world as like a believable one, but in the end it just ended up as empty set dressing. There's this side thing that feels really tacked on where they wanted the game to be endlessly playable by adding a mission building thing where players can create their own missions, but why would people want to do that in a game that has jack shit to offer and boring, repetitive, wonky combat? You'll be solely playing this for the story and the mission design. That's it, and the mission design is basic and uninspired. You're usually just driving somewhere, shooting enemies, and then driving somewhere else, sometimes picking some crap up, whatever. The story is where you can sense the ambition. You can tell that these people had these big ideas for this world that they were creating, but in the end it devolves to some pretty ridiculous convoluted shit involving alien technology. It almost feels like it was tacked on too for the sake of a sequel that we are 100% not going to get. And as much as I'd like to get a "at least you tried" cake out for this one, the truth is that this was still an unmitigated disaster at launch, and frankly, even now, it may only amount to some nice set dressing, bad combat, and a serviceable story that basically reminds me of something I would watch in one of those TV series on Fox or some shit. Forgettable, weak, but not exactly insulting if you get this on a big sale out of curiosity. I will say this, it's an interesting game when it comes to the curiosity part of it.
No! Let them suffer. Let them die in pain.
No, we fight.
My brave Sohei, Oda Nobunaga has brought us to the edge of extinction. Wada koreta, friends, to push us over! Tonight, we end the destruction! We succeed! Or we die! Fighting!
Look at these dudes. Look at him over there walking in slow motion. Oh my god, how is this the garbage that you're creating with hundreds of millions of dollars? So let me get this straight. First, we're outside of a castle, and we got like 10 monks at most over there. The castle has high walls, and the fucking doors are shut tight. And then Ubisoft kicks in this epic music theme like, oh fuck boys, here comes the payoff. What we've all been waiting for. This dude starts giving this speech, hyping up his monk homies, again directly outside of the castle that they are meant to be keeping quiet in. No guards come out to check out what matter of fucking cringy yelling is going on outside and why. And then you get this epic moment. Oh man, I mean, Jesus Christ, just look at this frame. Look at this frame. Pure cinema. Look at them walking in slow motion across the little bridge over the moat. My god, oh fuck, one of them is even whipping out his sword. Look at him whipping out his sword that he's going to have to put back into the goddamn scabbard because they either have to push the door open or they have to climb over the wall. What the fuck is he gonna do with the sword? Is he going to hit the fucking door with a sword? The scene fades to black and bam, you're back in the driver's seat, in control of the character, and somehow you're all inside already. How the fuck did we get through those doors or those high walls? Who the fuck knows? Where are the guards that are supposed to be guarding that entrance? Who knows? Why didn't any guards hear that racket outside? Who knows? Why didn't they get into position with bows and arrows and guns and completely decimate these fucking morons showing up with no shields, no ladders, no nothing? Who knows? How did the doors open in the first place to let all of these monks in? Who knows? Why are there guards fighting with monks outside the castle? Why are they outside the fucking castle and inside the entrance at the same time? Who knows, guys? Who the fuck knows about any of this? Number 4 is Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was almost set as number 5. That's right, fellas. That's right, your boy gave it some deep thought, and ultimately, Assassin's Creed Shadows comes across as a worse goddamn deal than even Mindseye. And this is for various reasons. I already have a 2-hour video breaking down this pile of garbage in detail, and I don't even go into like culture war stuff or Ubisoft's other blunders recently. I just focus solely on the game, Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't even compare it to older Assassin's Creed games because some morons will always come in and say that that's unfair. All I do is I just take the game as it is, and the only things that I compare it to are the 4 previous major RPG Assassin's Creed releases, so Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. Actually, that's it. I don't think I even compared it to Mirage. And I did that because I wanted everybody to understand the decline in quality from Ubisoft over the past few years, and why Shadows is so much worse than it even looks like from videos on YouTube. So that's over there if anyone wants a deeper dive, but some of the reasons I'll note now separately are the following. Number 1, Ubisoft literally has no excuse to be this bad at making these games. They are a major multinational company in the industry. They boast about being a quadruple-A studio making quadruple-A experiences, and yet they can't write a single fucking story to save their lives? They can't take previous combat systems and improve upon them to make something better in each new iteration? They can't make their open worlds better? They can't improve their quest design? They can't deliver a satisfying gameplay loop or proper rewarding system? They have to keep making all this shit worse? They have to keep distancing themselves further and further from what Assassin's Creed is supposed to be? This is ridiculous and unacceptable. Number 2, unlike Mindseye, the game can't just be dead and buried as the turd that it is. No sir, it has to get protected by the darling media at every turn. First by running interference and fake-ass hype stories before the game launched, then by calling its critics racist and misogynists who just hate the game because it has a black guy and a woman in it. Never mind the fact that this kind of backlash doesn't happen for other games featuring black or female leads, but whatever. And then after that, by running fake stories using manipulated data to push the game as this huge success of 2025 by Ubisoft. Take that, chuds! Your boycotts failed. And the most delicious part of all of this is that later in the year they were doing the exact same thing for Ghost of Yotai and they forgot Assassin's Creed Shadows. So they released this list right here, trying to show how amazing Ghost of Yotai is because it just came out only 3 days after launch and it was already on the top 20 most sold games of the year, you know, in terms of revenue. And Assassin's Creed Shadows... the game that was supposedly the most best-selling game of the year according to other articles like this one, is nowhere to be seen. If it's one of the most sold games of the year, where the fuck is the game? Where's the money, fellas? What, did it just fucking evaporate? And if Ubisoft is doing so well, why did they fire thousands of the people? Why did they have to sell a chunk of themselves to Tencent? This type of shit, guys, it just pisses me off like no other. Frankly, as I say this, I'm starting to consider whether or not I should actually put this piece of shit on number 3. This game was an insult to the Assassin's Creed franchise and to the Japanese history and culture that they dedicated themselves to the accuracy of during the initial marketing for the game before people started uncovering mess after mess after mess. A lot of soy boys and journalists like to say that Ubisoft was wrongly targeted during this entire period. I would actually say they got off easy. Ubisoft has been nickeling and diming their players for years. For years they have been destroying their established franchises, including Far Cry, Tom Clancy, Prince of Persia, and more, and making sure to ruin any new ones such as Star Wars Outlaws and X-Defiant. Avatar was on the same boat too until a recent revival with the DLC and also tie to the movie and shit. So good job to the studio actually trying to, you know, make something more of that Avatar game instead of just abandoning it. But everything else? Ubisoft needs reform, and they're not going to get there while people and the media keep covering for them. I want a future where they're back on their feet because I love these IPs. They own some really good stuff. Well, they don't. I guess now they're kind of partly owned by Tencent, but you get my point. But if this continues, all they'll amount to is the same as what Call of Duty has become, a yearly slop churner that learns nothing.
They don't even have dialogue? What the fuck is this?
Here we go, guys, we are in the top 3 now, and this next one is so bad I don't even know why more people aren't trashing it as we celebrate the closing of the year and highlight all the garbage. Tales of the Shire, a bona fide piece of shit from your favorite retards in the games industry, Sweet Baby Inc. This is a game that suffers from so many issues it should actually be an Olympic sport to try and condense it down to a short slot in a top 10 video. You see, it's not just bad because it's a Sweet Baby Inc. game with all their mandatory ideologic activism cringe shoved into every fucking corner of it, and their inherent hatred of the Lord of the Rings universe to the point where they had to inject their DEI nonsense in there to add racial diversity that makes no damn sense on to the Hobbits, and change fundamental game systems that they are against because they are, and this is their own words by the way, negative depictions and systems that enforce values of colonization such as capitalism, imperialism, patriarchal society, whatever the fuck. I have a whole video talking about this. It's real, I'm not making it up. It's this one on screen right now. Link will be in the top comment and the description if you want to check it out. I dive through this entire mind-numbingly stupid crusade of theirs against cozy games. So yeah, the game isn't just bad because of that, it's also a completely broken, ugly, uninspired and boring mess. Though I guess now that I'm saying this, it is kind of related to that ideological bullshit too, because part of that whole presentation about decolonizing cozy games is removing basic progression systems where you do things like work, such as planting crops and harvesting them, and you get rewarded with money and experience points that you can then use to buy new items and skills. And in these lobotomites minds that's capitalism and imperialism and colonist shit that is bad and patriarchal and racist and blah 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 blah, and makes marginalized people feel unsafe while playing the games. Again guys, I'm not making this up, these are their own words and arguments. So they gotta figure out other ways to build a gameplay loop, and spoiler alert, they failed. Because really, if you're not batshit insane, you know these systems aren't there because developers are far-right chuds wanting to enforce colonization. Saying this out loud is something, let me tell you. They're just basic progression and reward systems, but... man, what are you gonna do, huh? Anyway, game is filled with mind-numbingly dull, repetitive fetch quests. The core activities like fishing, gathering stuff, gardening, etc. are totally lacking depth. The world is empty. The NPCs suck, like they just stand around, you can't even form meaningful relationships. Character design and the graphics look like shit, like it's just ugly for ugly's sake, which isn't surprising at all, because if there's a common theme we can find throughout many of these Sweet Baby Inc. games, it's that they have a deep, searing hatred for beauty.
Alright, eyebrows. I need to change her fucking face. It looks like a woman. I don't want to be a girl. Like, what? I can't make I can't make a masculine... Like... It's just different versions of being a fat woman.
Despite the game looking terrible though, somehow it runs even worse. We're talking about major issues here, fellas. Like, this shit was downright unplayable at launch, both on Switch and the PC. And even now, even though it got better, it's still an awful game that completely misunderstands what these games are all about. There's an epidemic out there of game developers who aren't even game developers, or at least they're certainly terrible at their job, basically looking at Stardew Valley and thinking, oh, this is so lovely, I love cozy games so much, I'm just gonna make my own cozy game, and I'm gonna make it so much cozier and nicer and more inclusive and cute and stuff.
I can't stand it. I won't stand it. It's not fair. I'm just being me.
Bernie!
But then all they managed to do is make a shitty failure of a copy-paste that fundamentally misunderstands why Stardew Valley worked in the first place. Hell, I don't think they even know how to make a game work. Period. Like, seriously, Tales of the Shire didn't even work properly on high-end hardware. Like, imagine blowing like $4,000 on the PC. Or even more right now with the RAM prices and the GPU prices increasing, and then the fucking thing can't even run Tales of the Shire. It just keeps crashing like every half hour and chugging as if you're trying to run the latest AAA 8K ray-traced video game. But even when it worked, and even taking away all the issues I mentioned of totally shallow systems, world, characters and chores, there was a massive issue with lack of content. So you'd reach a point where you'd finish all your daily tasks already like by the morning in-game time, and then you couldn't skip ahead or go to sleep or anything until later, so you'd literally have to stand around doing jack for the rest of the in-game day. So between the utter garbage that is the game itself, the shameful performance that makes you wonder if these people learned game development from a back alley lesson, and the Tolkien revisionism bullshit that both hates its own namesake but also completely fails in diving into it and giving fans a living, breathing Lord of the Rings world that they would have loved spending time in, there's literally zero reason to buy this. If number 2 and number 1 weren't such insults to their own IPs, I'd have to actually put this in first place as the worst pile of garbage of the year. The Gollum of 2025. Coming in at number 2, it's Pokemon Legends ZA, okay guys? Oh god, here we go bro, oh, this one's gonna be rough. And it breaks my rules a bit. The way these lists are going to go is, they're my lists. It's games I played myself, or at least covered to an extent, because I didn't actually play all of them. Pokemon Legends ZA is a Switch game that I don't even have access to because I don't have a Switch, and I never even played the other Pokemon games. But even if I did, I wouldn't have bought this, because it's garbage. It's just terrible. It's subjectively one of the worst games of this year, a disaster of its own, and so I can't even bring myself to do a list video without putting it in. This failure was reported everywhere, loads of reports about terrible performance, broken launch with crashes, soft locks, save corruption, visual artifacts in an otherwise ugly ass game that looks like it's 2 generations behind, frankly maybe even 3. It just makes you wonder, how can you not even get this right? Like, how can a game be so ugly and so basic, and at the same time you're still having graphics problems? Like, what are you doing? Terrible combat, a tiny map, tedious core mechanics that made this play and look worse than the previous game. Presentation is honestly so shamelessly shallow that it's honestly impressive it even released this way. Like, dude, there's not even any voice acting. The world is bereft of anything meaningful or, God forbid, fun to do. Despite being small and having city areas, it doesn't even make up for it by doing interiors with people to find and compelling side quests to do. The goddamn game does less than what you find from indie studios. And then if you wanted more content, well, you'd have to shell out money for more bloat.
Pokemon Legends ZA is the laziest AAA game I've ever seen. We're talking about a $70 game that has copy-pasted assets, half-finished animations, talking animations with no voice acting for some odd reason. I don't know why anybody greenlit that. The game is just so lifeless, and as somebody who hasn't played these games since Black and White, what happened to the monster designs? This is the most popular media franchise in the history of Earth. They make more money than 145 countries do their GDP. By all accounts, these should be the best games ever made, and there's no challenger whatsoever, but that's just not what these games are.
Now, there was one thing about the game that was good, is that they have anti-homeless benches in the new Pokemon game. All right, guys? So they are a little bit based here.
Somehow though, despite all this, the game was still an undeniable success. I'm serious, fellas. This is why I said before, and I'll say it again. You may find a lot of cringe lords roaming around in the PlayStation soyboy community, and in the Xbox slop guzzler community, and the PC Master Race gigacuck community, but there is no one cringier and more bitch-made than Nintendrones. They are the Disney adults of gaming. They will buy overpriced shit over and over and over again, and they will literally get scammed with shameful games like Pokemon Legends ZA, a game that cost Game Freak $13 million to make. That's it, that's as much as they put into making this pile of garbage, and somehow, some way, Nintendrones will still show up for it in the dozens of millions and buy it. And it was $70, by the way. Nintendo went for the big boy price on a cheap-ass game that released broken and barren. I am straight up speechless. Legitimately, I am. I have no idea how this even happens. Like, holy shit, dude. We may see awful games all over the map. We just went through a whole list of various games that released broken and were in shameful state, and yet, at least they failed. Big time too. But in the Nintendo dimension, this just doesn't happen because they've basically built up a loyal player base of low IQ mouth breathers who apparently can't even tell when a game is bad quality. These Nintendrones are kind of like a lost tribe in the world that has never seen, the outside. They don't have the internet, they don't have cars, they don't have anything, and so anything at all that comes their way, that is dropped into their little island, even if it's trash, it's received with excitement and wonder. Honestly, I have to respect it. Nintendo is set up for life. They don't even have to make good content nor good decisions anymore. They can do whatever they want, and they will be successful. Congratulations, Nintendo!
I'm your go-to gal for fun times at the OK Camarilla.
I didn't know you would be so...
But whatever you decide to do, just remember, the only real question in life is whether the f***ing you're getting is worth the f***ing you're getting.
With all due respect, what
the fuck are you talking about?
Look on the bright side. Next time I see you, I'll owe you one. See ya!
Forgive me. It's just the nomad. Hi.
And here we are. Number 1, The Biggest Loser, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I'm sure that as the list was ticking down, you're not surprised to see this here unless you're one of those people who totally forgot that this game existed, which wouldn't surprise me either because it was so bad that it kinda just evaporated. Now, some might remember that in a couple of videos posted before this one, and in some more videos that I'll post in the future, I used and will likely carry on using some bits of footage that I got from Bloodlines 2. This is not because I recommend the game, it's because there's some parts of it that can be nice, engaging background footage. Specifically, I'm talking about how you can dash around from rooftop to rooftop, glide around a bit through the air, and dispatch some enemies with some quick combat instances. Shit just works when you're making videos the way I do, talking about various matters. But yeah, it's not an endorsement at all. Much the contrary. The main reason why this game is in the number 1 spot is because of how much of a betrayal it is to the goddamn legacy it is tainting by using the same namesake and putting a 2 at the end, pretending like it's a sequel when in reality there is nothing that even begins to tie it to that first game. Everything is a total atrocity in this, and even if you go into it without having played the original, which I would expect is a lot of people since the original is like, I mean, holy crap, over 20 years old by now, the truth is that even then, it's a terribly weak experience. Much like Dragon Age Veilguard did not stand on its own as an RPG, this doesn't stand on its own as whatever the fuck type of game it's trying to be. The whole development was a mess. This thing was being made like over 9 years ago already, and it suffered major delays, bouts of development hell, and loads of time in between without any word at all as to whether the game was being made or if it had gotten cancelled. It went through several developers as well. I don't think it even ever had a clear vision from the beginning. At least I hope not, because if this was the vision that someone had, then somebody put that guy in jail, brother. I don't think I'll ever understand truly what happened for it all to go so wrong, but either way, it's inexcusable that the game can be so disconnected from its roots. Unlike the original game from all the way back then when it was made by a small group of gooners, which offered branching paths, this sequel is a linear action-focused spin-off. But not even a good one at that. There's different dialogue choices you can make, but no different outcomes. At one point I was doing a dialogue with some woman that I had to convince that I was on the side of, and if I failed in the dialogues, instead of, you know, being a fucking Bloodlines game and letting me fail and then figuring out some other way to get the information, the goddamn dialogue sequence just resets. Like, literally, the game just goes, "Oops, player, it seems you picked the wrong dialogue choice. I guess we have to reload the entire scene, huh?" And then you get to do it again until you get it right. So for every important moment where you can't fail because the devs refuse to do the bare minimum work to flesh out the game with different outcomes, you just get a reset. And for other moments where it doesn't matter what you say because the outcome is the same regardless, you get to pick different things. And there is no other RPG-like stuff anywhere else too. This is the shallowest game I've ever seen, like it's actually impressive. There's no inventory, so there's no items. Like literally 0 items. There's not even any currency, because naturally, if there's no items for your inventory, then there's no point to have any currency or merchants. This shit makes Avowed look like a masterpiece.
Holy Jesus.
There's no stats for your character, like there's no outfits to wear. I mean, you do have outfits, but they're just cosmetic and you can't even buy them. They're just tied to your clan and to your level. So if you want another one, you have to level up, right? And then there's other powers from other clans that you can unlock through some fucking unconventional convoluted bullshit leveling system. And so basically I've been just eyeing outfits and thinking, well, I'd like to wear that one, so I guess I'm gonna go and try to unlock that power because it'll give me that outfit, instead of just putting the fucking outfits on a store that you should be able to walk to and then just do something for money and just buy them. But you can't have that, because that would mean having a living city and the bare minimum of mechanical depth. You don't even have weapons for the combat system. In the original, you had all sorts of melee weapons to use and then firearms. In this game, you're forced to fight with your bare hands and a few powers that are also linear and locked to your class. The most you have is this telekinesis power, which allows you to telekinetically pick up enemy weapons and fire them, or throw their baseball bats or knives or bottles that you find in the environment, etc. But you don't even do it from your own possession. Like, you never actually wield a weapon and you aim it and you fucking shoot it, nor do you ever, pick up a sword or a bat and you use it in combat, like swinging it around. They just hover in front of you and you throw them, or you fire the little bullets from them. You can also forget about RPG-ish use of powers. You can avoid fights to use subterfuge or persuasion because there's no depth to this game whatsoever. There's no alternative paths to a goddamn thing. It's the weirdest thing. It's like a visual novel with some shitty gameplay tacked onto it. The playable clans were also slashed, and the funniest part is that they couldn't even use this as an opportunity to add more detail, right? Like my criticism of Mindseye. If you find yourself stretched too thin due to over-ambition and a scale of game that you cannot possibly manage, then downscale your game to fewer but deeper systems. But you can forget about that. You can forget about that over here. It's downscaled the fuck, and yet it's still shallow. Clans were slashed and there's basically zero difference between them. Your interactions are the same and you're still the same elder vampire, the Nomad. Ooh, so cryptic. And it ends up being so lame. You never feel like the badass that you're supposed to be, and the voice in your head is even worse. Oh yeah, I forgot. You have a voice in your head of another vampire that you sucked dry.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
At the start of the game because of waking up thirsty from a long slumber. The other vampire is a quirky detective that never shuts the fuck up, and whose writing makes this game sound like a Sunday morning cartoon show for children.
Remember, even in Seattle, people will notice if you do something, weird.
Is the wanderer not thirsty? Will they sup?
Hey there, fella, are you talking to me?
Ah, it is the truth seeker. Will you not wake?
Am I asleep?
And the poor fashion choice. That's a masquerade breach right there.
Ah, nuts. Let the mask slip once and the world becomes your scaffold.
Dude, the first game not only had different interactions for different clans, it literally had one extra clan that completely changed the gameplay. You could pick Nosferatu, which are ugly deformed creatures unable to blend in with humans, and you had to play the whole game like that, avoiding being seen and shit. Like, instead of walking the streets, you'd have to use the sewers and all that. Like, this is what a team with the budget of like Minute Rice and McDonald's was able to do 20 years ago. But now in 2025, we're presented with this shit. Another cool system back then was the Masquerade system, right? Which basically is a thing where you had to keep your vampire power secret in order to keep the masquerade going, right? So, keep the humans oblivious to the existence of vampires and this whole underworld. In that game, it had various levels of violations and consequences for those violations. You'd get like SWAT teams coming for you. If you got more violations, you'd get like hunters pursuing you. And if you got 5 violations, it was game over. Cutscene would pop up with somebody staking you from behind, giving you final death. Then you had to reload the previous save, but it didn't clear the level back to 0. It was just a save reload, so be more careful because your reputation is still screwed. Only way to make it go down was via quest rewards, where the prince would forgive a violation of yours or whatever. In this sequel, the system may as well not even be there. It's laughably bad. If you fill up the bar and break the masquerade, a chase starts. If it cools down, everything goes back to normal, nobody cares that a vampire was spotted, you don't get a violation because there's no violations. It's just over. If, however, you keep screwing up in the same sequence, the bar continues to rise, and if it gets red, you get automatically killed from behind by some hunter, it's a game over screen, the game reloads back, and your masquerade level is completely cleared, you're back to 0, and everything is fine. It's just not something that you have to contend with at all and play your cards right through different points of the story. It's just more empty set dressing. It's there because they knew that they had to put in something, because if they didn't, the reaction would be even worse. And speaking of set dressing, the entire city of Seattle has nothing going on. It's a bare-bones, lifeless city in which the range of your activities are going out to suck 3 different types of blood that give you 3 different types of skill points, so you can unlock pointless-ass abilities that don't even change the gameplay experience. One type of blood is infatuated by you, so the NPC will follow you into an alley so you can embrace them without getting caught. The other type of blood is terrified of you, so the NPC runs away from you into an alley and you can follow them and bam, embrace them without getting caught. And then the other type of blood is enraged by you, so the NPC picks a fight with you and you can walk into an alley while he chases you so you can embrace them without getting caught. And that's it, guys. That's the whole game. Or you can also pick up garbage. It's on the wall. Like, there's these symbols on the wall. You aim at the wall, you press a button, and you collect some garbage tattoo that's on the fucking wall. That's it, fellas. That's the whole game aside from the insanely weak quests with the childish writing. It's just such a shame, man. The original was a game with style. To this day, people listen to those old soundtracks of that game and it takes them back instantly. And for me, it isn't even about nostalgia. I only ever played it for the first time in 2019 or so, but I was immediately grabbed. I didn't care about the dated systems or visuals. I fell in love with it instantly because it's a goddamn vampire RPG where you play in modern times, and man, they just nailed it. And make no mistake, you know, the game has its flaws. It even needs an unofficial patch to run properly because originally the game was rushed out the door by Activision and the developers couldn't finish it. But it was a true RPG where your choices mattered and altered the game world, and where you could tackle your missions differently. You weren't just endlessly forced into combat. The dialogue was mature and authentic, diving deeply into little vampire politics and shit that were fascinating to learn about and impact with our little choices throughout the story. Your powers and your character build were used to your advantage or disadvantage. Some things just didn't have a solution, you know? Sometimes you just failed some tasks or had content that was barred from you because you just didn't meet the requirements in that playthrough. Exploration was organic and mattered too. No shortage of things to find, some of which were just fun details and curiosities, but others that could actually help you. And the characters, dude. I played this in 2019, I still remember several of them. And it wasn't just their design that was dope, especially those hot vampire chicks in the nightclub. Holy f***. Damn, boy! Anyway, so as I was saying, it wasn't even just their Seriously, I'm not even joking, guys. Anyway, it wasn't just their designs, it was their concepts and the tone of the world and dialogue. It was a goddamn mature game made for adults and with no fear whatsoever of being like a niche game, you know what I mean? Like or is it niche? I don't know. Some asshole in the comments said it's niche. I heard an American say it's niche. I don't know. But you get my point. When you try to appeal to everyone by removing every bit of complexity and personality from your game, you just end up with a shameful pile of garbage that appeals to nobody. This game can eat my entire ass.
The whole thing.
And that brings us to the end of this painful video. There are still other games that released this year and were pretty bad or just painfully dull or disappointing, but they're either games that I didn't touch or games that aren't bad enough to fit into this list. For example, there's people out there who feel for Silent Hill F the same thing that I feel for Vampire the Masquerade. But as far as me goes, this was it. These were the major stinkers of 2025. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Let me know your own lists down in the comments. Subscribe and stay tuned for the best of 2025 and hopefully much more as we go into 26 and beyond. I'll see you soon on the next video. Take care.